And we are live. Welcome to episode 11 of the RetroSlot podcast featuring JSniperton and me, Briar Rabbit. Jay, how you been doing?
I'm good. Punch out takes a lot out of you.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Same.
Pain.
I actually made a huge error in judgment today. I had barbecue, ribs, and chicken for lunch today. And you know that feeling where you've eaten too much and you know that you have to take a nap, but you're just too damn busy to take that nap. But you should, your body is saying it's nap time. It's nap time. Go take a nap. But you're like, I can't. I got this to do. I got that to do. I got this to do. So I've just been carrying that weight, that skipped nap weight all afternoon and into the evening. So I started drinking beer, and I think that should clear it up for me.
Oh yeah, that's totally gonna work. That's not gonna be counterproductive at all.
Beer can go one of two ways for me. It can either act as a sedative, where I just I have one beer and then I immediately go take a nap, or it can act almost like an energy drink, where I'm just wired and I can't do anything. It can go either way for me.
I feel like you have to. If you drink one beer, at least for me, if I drink one, I'm out. I'm done.
Yeah.
But if you continuously are drinking and chatting and stuff, it's fine.
Yeah.
Because then you have the I have to pee energy. You just, take stock and you're like, I gotta pee, I gotta pee, I gotta pee. And so you're just sitting there waiting for the opportunity.
Are you a believer in the break the seal technology? The theory of breaking the seal? The thought technology of breaking the seal?
I don't know if I subscribe to it, but it definitely feels like it's a thing when you're, at a bar, assuming before COVID, right? You're at a bar or at a house or something, and you have, I don't know, for me, it's 3, and anything past that point, if you're continuously drinking, it's all right, every hour on the hour, gotta pay up the piper,
gotta pay.
Go to the
bathroom. I don't subscribe. I go pee when I have to go pee. But I don't know that I'm making the right decision. I just go. I just do it. I'm like, I gotta pee. Luckily, I like to drink outside. I like to drink out of doors. I like to be inebriated in the wild. So peeing is usually not an issue. I just, especially if you're on a deck or something. Oh, that's the perfect. Just right between the slats of the deck, you're good to go.
That's not really outside though. You're still at a house.
I'm outside the house.
I was picturing you in the woods somewhere. You're talking about on a fucking deck. You're I had a buddy that did that, and our front walkway always just smelled like piss.
Oh man, really?
We'd have house parties, and he just pee on into the bushes right in front of our house. But we had this is college age, so we had house parties pretty much every weekend.
Yeah,
and it just you go. The mailman just got a whiff every time they went to the door. It was really bad. Can you just take the 20 steps to the bathroom in the house, please? Thanks.
It's also an effective form of weed control. It really keeps the weeds down to a minimum.
Oh,
in the grass.
So you're doing it for us. Got it.
That's right. It's a
public service. You're thinking about our well-being. Got it.
Nobody likes weeding. Nobody.
No.
So there's a lot to talk about. We had a ton of retro news.
I was very surprised. Yeah.
We also played Punch-Out this week.
Mike Tyson specifically.
Mike Tyson's Punch-Out.
Yes.
Although that didn't matter to me at all. The only glimpse of Mike Tyson I saw was on the cover of the cartridge as I slid it into the Nintendo. That was the last I saw him. I am not good at that game. I'll tell you that. I don't know if it's, people think it's a test. That game specifically is a test for input latency, display lag, and all of that. But if you're not good, I don't think it tests anything.
I will say I noticed with the analog for the first time since I've got any analog system, there is the slightest bit of input delay, and I had to bust out the OG controller and plug it in.
Oh, okay. Because you were using the 8-bit do that comes with it?
Yeah, it was slightly better, but I still, when I started getting towards the end of the enemies, you know, at the end of the foes, I really was noticing it because every millisecond counts at that point. Like,
Yeah.
I felt like I was like, I'm hitting the button and it's not going. Like, you know what I mean? I see the thing that's like the trigger or whatever, like the little, oh, here it comes, and then I hit the button and like it just whack, just like, all right, well, son of a bee. So I had to start anticipating. I had to literally move before I even saw anything. But I
had to break out
I,
this guy, the NES
really?
Advantage. Like, I couldn't do it with the 8-bit do either. Like, I was trying anything, Jay.
Grasping at straws.
Yeah.
So how far did you make it at least?
Should we go? Do we want to just start with Punch Out, like right off the bat?
Well, I just want to know how far you got. That's all.
I only made it past the second championship belt. Like, I didn't make it to the third championship belt.
So who was the last guy?
The guy who finally
who did you get screwed on?
The guy who finally not only beat me up but broke my soul was the second iteration of, I think it's Tiger.
Or is it Honda? Was it? There's only one Tiger, right?
Oh, okay, maybe it was the second one with Honda. But so you fight Tiger, then you fight Bald Bull, right? And you get the championship with Bald Bull. Yeah, and then you're right. You go to Honda. Yeah. So it must have been Honda. Yeah.
I literally played through it like 3 times in the last 2 nights, and
I know. I forget too. I had trouble with like the 1-2 punch of Tiger and Bald Bull.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I finally got past Bald Bull, and I'm like, oh, E Honda, I can beat E Honda. Like, I beat him fairly easily, and he whipped my butt.
It's funny that you say E Honda because I literally said that on stream last night. It was Piston Honda.
Piston Honda. E Honda, obviously being the Street Fighter character.
Yeah. So Tiger, Bald Bull, and then third circuit Piston Honda, Popinski, Bald Bull number 2, Flamenco number 2, Sandman, Macho Man, Tyson.
Yeah. I didn't get anywhere near that upper echelon.
Just popping it in and not like just going through my normal routine, I got all the way up to Sandman first try in about an hour.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I had never gotten there that quickly. I think it typically took me more. So I don't know how, but I got to Sandman and I tried him like 5 times and he just destroyed me. I was like, I'm going to have to look up some kind of strategy at some point.
Yeah, I did not look up any strategies for this.
Yeah.
I went by the letter of the law. You told me kind of like at some point during the week, you tweeted out that, you know, try and get as far as you can, but if you need to look up a strategy, right?
Yeah,
but
I thought I said that on the last show, but maybe. Yeah. Just to kind of see where we're at, just like, you know, gentleman's agreement, but at the same time, like once you get to that point, we want to beat the game, you know. So if you need information, then heck yeah, go get some information. So last night I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna try to go for it. So at like 4 a.m. on stream, I was like, I'm switching to Punch Out, y'all. I'm sorry. So I put it in, and again, I got to Popinski and actually had to hit it. I had to play him a couple of times this time. He whipped my butt the first 2 times, and so, but I got through him again. I got to Sandman without any kind of information. And then I was like, I got to look it up. So I did. And there's legit a strat. You have to bait his punch. So you punch him, he blocks, and then he throws a hook that you have to block. So it's like you can get into this routine. And it was consistent. And then he does this, like, he'll just like look at you for like 3 seconds and then uppercut, and with like no, like little to no warning at all. But like once you kind of, you're like, oh, here it comes. Block, or dodge, you know. And I was finally able to beat him, which was amazing. And then I got to Macho Man, who does the spinny bullshit uppercut. He's like, whoom, 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 whoom. He did 9 in a row at one point. Spin. You have to block or like dodge. And so I finally beat him. It took me like an hour and a half just to beat him. I got to Tyson. That's really where I hit.
You made it to Tyson.
Yeah, I made it to Tyson. That's really where I hit the input latency issue, because He does this little flash, like the first 90 seconds of that fight, he's just doing uppercuts, and it's a one hit, you're down. If you get touched, you're dead.
Just like in real life.
And yeah, right. And down for the count. But he does like his whole body flashes like lighting flash. And so I'd see that and I'd hit the button and I'd get hit. And I'd see it, I'd hit the button and get hit. And there's way less reaction time for Tyson. And so that's really where I was like, I just don't think I can beat it with this setup, because you can't really anticipate his hits the same way you can with a lot of the other characters.
Yeah.
Because with the other ones, with the like literally I had to hit the button before I even saw it half the time. And you can't do that with Tyson. So yeah, I would have to probably have some kind of CRT setup or something like that, I think, to reduce the latency there, because it was just
What kind of TV do you have it plugged into?
Well, I was playing it on my 2K 144 hertz monitor, but the other TV that I have that would be the second best choice would be a 720p plasma. It's not going to be all that much better,
right? Well, here's the secret to buying old TVs, right? To getting old TVs. Go on Craigslist. Go on like local, like what's the Facebook Marketplace, that kind of stuff, and just look up TV. Don't like Google like Trinitron, right. Monitor. Like just go generic as hell, and then scroll down to the lowest prices. And what you see is a bunch of people who are basically giving away their old tube TVs. And if you can find like a Trinitron or a JVC or something like that has, especially if it has component inputs, man, they look real good. And the problem is that a lot of them are heavily used. They're quite old at this point, so they may need some calibration, which can be extraordinarily expensive because there's not a whole lot of people who know how to do that anymore. So you might have to pick up a few before you get one that's really good.
Oh, good. More stuff to have in my garage. Exactly what I need.
My wife has never said boo about me like bringing stuff into this house, like as far as like electronics and stuff goes. Like it's always like for the channel or for the, she totally gets it, right? But when I started showing up with tube TVs, she's like, "What are you doing?"
Multiple. He said TVs.
Oh yeah.
Honey, I gotta test them out.
Yeah.
Gonna be footstools after you decide not to keep them? Like what are you gonna do with a 200-pound TV?
Yeah, and they do. They weigh like 200 pounds. Some of them do. I mean, the big ones do.
Big Sony ones, yeah.
I actually think like the best ones are around 20 inches or so, because they.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can kind of fit them into corners. They're not like crazy as far as size goes. And I think the picture actually looks really good on kind of that size screen. Once you start getting bigger and bigger, like you start blowing up those pixels, it doesn't look as good. But at about 20 inches, I think is a really good sweet spot.
Sounds like you've done a bunch of testing on that.
I have.
How many TVs do you have in the basement, Briar?
Well, they are kind of spread throughout the house now. Okay. I have a Panasonic that's in the garage. I have a 20-inch Sony Trinitron that's in the basement. I have a 27-inch Sony Trinitron that's sitting like right here, and that's because I hurt my back and I can't move it anywhere. So that's gonna just stay there.
I think that's how you hurt your back. Yeah.
But yeah, those TVs are expensive, but I mean you can get them fairly cheap. It's when you want to get into like the professional PVM stuff that it could get really freaking expensive.
Right. I just picture you taking your rack of retro stuff and just going to each TV around the house.
Just
like you're at a hospital. You're like the dude at the hospital with the IV, just trying to get, his legs under him. You're just going with your big old rack of retro stuff, plugging it into some tube TVs somewhere in the house. Like, honey, sorry, I gotta play Punch Out here today.
Yeah. I mean, the old. I think the NES and the Super Nintendo and the Genesis, like that era of games, even like the Nintendo 64, like they just look better on the TVs they were kind of meant to be on. Like they just, like there's something pretty cool about looking at a Super Nintendo game on an OLED display, like, and seeing those sharp ass pixels, and like it's kind of amazing to see how good those games can look on modern technology. but they don't look like they did. The example I always give is like if you look at like Ryu's arm in Street Fighter, if you look at it on a CRT, like an old TV, it looks like there's like muscle definition, and you can see the shading between like the bicep and the tricep. You know, like you can see all that because it shows. When you look at it, like the pixels, like the square pixels on an OLED or an LCD display, it just looks like pixels, and it's actually harder to make out what they're trying to go for. It's crazy like that.
Yeah, I tell that to people all the time. You're like, yeah, there's muscle there, you just can't see it because the pixels are all kind of
same.
There's stuff there, just the pixels are jumbled together. It's fine. I need to be on a CRT.
I hooked up my PS3 the other day to the PS3 and Xbox 360 were the first consoles that had HDMI.
Really?
And I was kind of surprised that the PS3. I wanted to play Street Fighter 4. I was kind of surprised by how bad that PS3 looked on a modern 4K TV. Like it just, I don't know. There's something about it. It just didn't look as crisp as I'm used to. Now that we have the PS5 in our lives, and
what resolution was the PS3?
I'm sure that it could get up to 1080p, but I don't think that
720.
I'm guessing most games are probably running at 720 or below. I mean, it could output a 1080p signal on HDMI. But I can't imagine that console came with component cables, like out of the box.
Right.
Which is insane.
I can't imagine that Street Fighter 4 would look that bad, though, considering it was mostly like cell shaded, right?
Yeah. The game looks good. It's just that the resolution like has already aged.
Yeah.
Man, we got a ton of retro news. Do we want to just like jump into the news stuff?
We can, yeah. I didn't really organize this stuff in any kind of priority. It was just like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, you know what I wanted to talk about real quick before we get into the news, actually? Have you heard of Cyber Shadow?
Yes.
Oh, my God. So this is a brand new game, obviously. But, the reason I feel like it's appropriate to bring up during this show is because it's obviously a retro-inspired game, right? Like, it's going after, like, the Strider from NES, Ninja Gaiden vibe in a very big way. I've been playing that game a ton on the Nintendo Switch. It's also on Game Pass on Xbox and PC, and it's available on the PS4 as well. But holy smokes, I'm really enjoying that game. It is fantastic. It's made by Yacht Club, the same guys who made Shovel Knight. And it's outstanding. It's really outstanding.
I was going through Game Pass to kind of look at games to kind of check out, and I noticed the Cyber Shadow was on there, and I was like, "Yo, that's sweet!" I didn't know if you knew that because I'm pretty sure you bought it like at release night. So
yeah, I bought it on Switch, and then it didn't release at midnight on Switch. So I bought it again on PS5 because it did release at midnight on PS5, and then the next day I found that it released. It was on Game Pass. I could have been playing it for free.
Yeah. Do you have Game Pass? You do. So
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So you ended up spending $30 on a game that you didn't have to spend anything on.
Yeah. It's 60, I think. How much was the game?
You said 20? 15, I think.
I think it was 15 if you pre-ordered, 20 if you didn't, right?
Oh, okay.
So yeah, you're right. $30. But I don't mind because I love the game so much. I don't mind supporting it.
Yeah. Whatever. Enough. How much? I always am curious, like what kind of fees the producing companies or the development companies get from games on like Xbox or PS5 or that kind of thing. Like
that story hasn't been told yet.
Yeah,
Microsoft
takes their cut.
Yeah, Game Pass. It'll be interesting because, like on the side quest this week, we were talking about Medium and like that's a perfect game to release on Game Pass because. Like that game would be a hard sell for $60 or $70, right? But on Game Pass, like it really has like an access to like a huge market of people who could just check it out and be like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this or not, but there's like no risk to me to actually play it, and like hopefully it comes up with a bunch of big fans.
Do you think Game Pass, and I know this is not like retro specific, but do you think Game Pass lends itself to folks making games forgettable? because of
I
how
hope not. I hope it gives
many games are.
I hope it gives rise to like B games, right? It's like something that we used to have. It's like on PlayStation there was a bunch of like $20 games, right? Most games cost $40 or $50, but a lot of games cost like $20. And when you bought one of those games, you knew it was going to be like a fully fleshed out game, but somebody had a good idea. They got enough money to develop like something for it. Earth Defense Force, I think, is a good example of one of those, right?
Mm.
Or Incredible Crisis, I think, is another one.
Pretty sure there's a Rugrats game. I can't imagine that costs more than $20.
But it's like not every game has to be a AAA spectacular. Some games can be like smaller in scope. You know, the Medium is a perfect example. It takes 8 hours to play through. You know, it's limited in scope. It didn't cost $100 billion to make. You know, it didn't cost $500 billion like Destiny did. But, you know, like that doesn't mean it's any worth less playing. And frankly, like an 8-hour game at this point doesn't sound too bad.
Right. It's true. Yeah, I have the full experience in 8 hours. It's not a bad call.
Yeah.
I just get curious, you know, if you think about folks that have like really large Steam libraries, it's like, yeah, I have 300 games on my Steam library. It's like, well, how many have you played?
Yeah.
7. You know, I just picture it kind of like that with Game Pass, where games kind of get lost in the fray.
Yeah,
And with
for
something
sure.
like
You're right about that.
Cyber Shadow, where it's really kind of niche and not a whole lot of people are probably going to be searching for a game like that on something like Game Pass. When Game Pass is coming out with games like, well, eventually Halo Infinite and like all these other games that are brand new, it'll be really interesting to see if that's a sustainable model for more than niche indie titles.
I hope it is. I hope that it. I don't know what they're making. Right? It's like that story hasn't been written yet, as far as like what all these indie devs think about being on Game Pass. Is it profitable? You know, is like what would have happened to Rocket League if it wasn't the PS4 free game of the month? Right? Would that game have taken off like it did? Because like everybody downloaded that because it was the free game of the month. Like it just flew. You know, it just became one of the, like a phenomenon. Hopefully that
game
can
start for free. I think
wasn't that
Rocket League like wasn't Rocket League like free in the beginning, and then they put it out on disc or something and charged for it, and then
I think the only time it was free was like the game. It was the PS4 game of the month on if you paid for PS4 Plus or whatever.
PSN Pro. Yeah.
I don't know. You're definitely right. Things can get buried in services like that. Like how many movies get buried in a Netflix-like service. But also things can get made that never would have like been profitable in like a theater-only business, right? Like a lot of things get made and put out on Netflix that would have never gotten made because there's no way they would have been able to draw like a theater audience, right?
Right.
Like the Britney Spears documentary that came out, or
CRT VHS,
yeah. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I hope that it's good for the industry overall. I know that like PlayStation's got to be feeling the pressure, right? Because I think the biggest selling point for the Xbox right now is Game Pass.
Yeah, and you can't even buy a PS5 now to have a selling point. So,
well, you can't buy either, really.
It's true.
I mean, I think PlayStation came out and said that they've sold 3.5 million consoles already, or is it 4.5? It's a lot. They've sold a ton, so it's not like they're not out there. But good lord! All right, so that's what we think about Cyber Shadow.
Yeah, go down the rabbit hole a little bit.
A little bit. Talk to me about some retro news, man, because there's like a lot.
Yeah. A lot of it's kind of little kind of things, but they're still pretty interesting to me anyways. Data miners used uncompressed original sounds to restore Super Mario World soundtrack. It was something they found in like, you know, the data mining information, and they were able to like parse that out and rebuild, I think, the songs from the original Super Mario World. So there's a YouTube channel, and I'm going to say it here once I go back to it. The Brickster. And there's multiple songs there even for like Mario Paint, Super Mario World, Super Mario All Star, stuff like that, where it's taking original songs, putting high def, uncompressed audio, like the stuff before the SNES kind of compressed it down, and it's really bizarre to listen to. It doesn't sound right to me
It
because
doesn't sound right.
everybody's so used to the games they played growing up, and one could argue that the design was created knowing that the systems were going to compress it, so certain sounds may have been used, certain design may have been used, knowing those facts. So listening to it uncompressed when the real intent was for it to be consumed after it was compressed, it just, some of those sounds like that just sounds weird.
It's
It
like
sounds
listening to
different.
when you like listen to like orchestrated versions of like video game soundtracks, and how
Mhm.
it's obviously the same song, but it's like a different take on it. It
Yeah.
sounds like that. It's like it's like listening to a cover.
Yeah. Sounds kind of hokey in a way.
Yeah, yeah,
Doesn't have the same charm.
yeah. It should sound better, right? You'd think, like, doing the math, like, oh, they just took off the compression, and it should sound better. I wonder if we'll learn more about this. I wonder if there's something more to this. Like,
Maybe.
maybe it's not actually what we think it is. Is this the same
Somebody.
leak that we learned about, like Yoshi's original form, and like, are they still getting data
I
out of
think
that original
so.
leak?
I think so. It had to have been from that, right? I don't know what else it would have been from.
Man, so
But
they're unpacking data. That was kind of mid 2020 that happened.
yeah, they're still finding stuff in that, which is pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
I wonder how far they can go down the rabbit hole in that. Next piece of news for those. This is not necessarily news.
This is
but
news.
the GoldenEye 007, there was a canceled remake from, I believe it was the original Xbox
360.
360. Okay, so we've known about this for a while, that there was one that was in that they were trying to make, and it got kind of stuck in the licensing loop and stuff, and weren't ever able to really release it. And somebody, I don't know exactly how they got their hands on it, but they had the like bits and pieces of it, I think, and they put together a full playthrough of the entire sequel.
So this has now leaked online, and you can play it now yourself. You can play it. You can play it on an Xbox 360, or you can play it in an emulator. I did play it on an emulator, and it's fantastic.
Really?
It's like GoldenEye 007 does not hold up well. Like, if you played it when you were a kid,
Right.
and you come back to it now, it doesn't hold up now. It doesn't hold up well. But if you play this remake, it's like you're playing how you remember the game being. Like, it's really phenomenal. The controls are like modern controls. Like, if you play it with a controller, the left stick is movement, the right stick is aiming, and the triggers do what you expect them to do. Like, it feels now like modern controls, but in GoldenEye 007 running at 60 FPS. And they even updated the graphics. And you could switch between the old and the new graphics on the fly by just like tapping the left button, I believe. Was it the right button or the left button? I forgot. But you could just tap between like you could in the Master Chief collection. And it's phenomenal. Right. It's awesome. It's really good. I highly recommend everybody do this.
You're able to play through the whole thing?
Yeah. Well, I can't confirm that personally. I believe so. The thing is like 98% complete because it got canceled when they were like just about to release it.
Oh man. Like, how does that even, like, my brain goes, how the heck does that even happen? And who owns the rights to it right now?
So the problem was somebody just tweeted us an article about it, and the problem was Nintendo, right? It's because the rights holders were obviously Bond, like the people who hold the James Bond license, who make the movies, Rare, who made the original game but also made this remake, and Nintendo. And everything was going smoothly until the game was almost done, and then apparently the guy who was saying yes, Nintendo's on board, actually didn't have any fucking power. Like, he didn't have the authority to be saying yes, yes, yes. Because as soon as like Nintendo higher ups heard about it, they put the kibosh on it. They brought the lawyers in, and we all know Nintendo is probably the most litigious video game company on the planet. You know, if they even sniff like anything they can sue, they will sue. So Nintendo put the kibosh on it, and it was really unfortunate because like Microsoft was everybody was fully on board with this. It would have been great. Gamers would have loved it. I mean, the reaction it's gotten right now has been really amazing. People are really digging this, and unfortunately, there's no official way to play it, so you have to download it, and you have to. I mean, most people are going to have to play it on an emulator because you need a modded Xbox 360 that can play burned discs, which isn't super accessible. But I mean, it's super easy to emulate with the Xbox 360 emulator. So it's good though. It's real good. It's too bad it didn't come out for the Xbox 360 back in the day.
Yeah. I'm just curious, like, is Nintendo going to follow up on this? Is this, like...
I mean, the only way they can follow up is to find out who leaked it. But I would assume that whoever leaked it either works for Rare or Microsoft. Or unless somebody, like, hacked into Rare or Microsoft and stole it.
I mean, they could put a cease and desist, though, right? At the very least.
I mean, it's out on the internet. What are they going to do? Like, yeah, that thing's out there.
It's true.
I mean, they've tried to do stuff like that, like Metroid. What was the Metroid? Another Metroid remake, another Metroid 2 remake. What was that called?
I don't remember.
I mean, like you could take down the person who originally made it and then originally posted it, but I mean, the thing's all over the internet. You can never get rid of it. Like, let me tell you, once you put your nudes up on the internet, you can't take it back.
Yeah. Be very careful when you're 18, 19 years old.
Yeah. I mean, this is not
Especially
official.
now.
It's not Microsoft or Rare who put this up. It'll be interesting to find out, like, if we ever find out how this actually happened, that'll be interesting. But it is weird that we got the playthrough, and then, like, a few days later, it was out there. Like, probably related.
I must have missed, yeah, because I put this news together, started putting this stuff together like a week ago, so yeah. Maybe I missed it.
Yeah, I think it came out this weekend.
Okay, so yeah, I was like right on the opposite side of it then. Interesting. Okay, so next piece, DuckTales prototype was found. I don't know if it was like a physical cart. They didn't really talk about it. But it did have a new song for like the intro,
that's
at least for like the menu, and it's kind of cool, kind of weird, but also as part of this prototype, it was found that there was a removed ending from the original DuckTales game where Scrooge could give up his fortune.
Really?
And I can't have read through the story, and the original creator was like, it was a really interesting story twist, and he's like, I really liked it, but it didn't really make sense from a Scrooge McDuck perspective. Like he wouldn't do that.
No.
So
the dude is literally best known for swimming in his piles of money because he's such a miser and he loves it so much.
Right. So, but you can go and listen to I'm trying to find this link has the song called Map. You could go and listen to it on Chiptunes. CHIPTUNES DuckTales. It says February 5th, 1989 prototype.
Interesting. That's cool, man. This is it's nice that this kind of video game history is being preserved. I feel like it wasn't being preserved for the longest time, and a lot of this stuff has now been lost. And it's nice that there are people out there looking for it now and preserving it and like documenting it, for future generations.
Yeah. I mean, I had never really looked at this stuff or looked at retro news as much before the podcast. So it's interesting to see all this stuff coming about, and I'm curious if this has kind of been a thing over the past 30 years.
I know that the Video Game History Foundation has been doing a lot, and they're actually they're worth checking out because this is their main thing. Is they go back, they're looking for prototypes, they're looking for documentations about the building of a game. They're not all about just like getting ROMs and putting them on the internet, right? They're looking more into like preserving the history of the people who made the games, preserving the materials, the art, the music, and that kind of stuff. And you could support them if you go over to Video Game History Foundation. You can buy a mug. They even have this cool service where they'll send you a video game magazine, like a retro, like an old video game magazine, like a Game Pro from 1985, in the mail once a month if you give them $20. You know, it's like,
oh wow,
you know, you're not getting value here. You're donating to the Video Game History Foundation.
right?
But you can do that. You know, it's a cool cause to support. You know, because there's not a whole lot of people doing this stuff.
I'll write that down. Did you see the next piece of news? Did you see that on Twitter?
No.
So a Twitch streamer, and I felt like this was relevant, played at least through a singular level of Super Mario World without using his hands. So he was using voice commands only, and you can tell that it was like attempt number 500 kind of deal, because he knew exactly when to stop, where to stop, what to do next. Like, he knew what was coming, and he got through the entire level. Just, it was like full jump right, half jump right, half step left, full jump right. Like, yeah, it was like, it's pretty intense. And he got through the entire level, and it's pretty dope. But apparently this software, Steve, I'm trying to remember his last name, but kind of an advocate for accessibility on Twitter, responded to it and said that the software is actually created for kind of disabled people that aren't able to use normal implements. And so using voice commands for gameplay and stuff is a pretty typical accessibility software. And it was super cool to see that kind of highlighted. So, and the name of the person who did it, let's make sure, Juzcook. Juzcook. It's got like 270,000 views on Twitter.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty dope.
I can't even imagine attempting something like that. I can't imagine attempting something and failing like 500 times. You know what I mean?
Punch out?
Punch out. I mean, I can imagine that's how many times it would take me to complete it, but I can't imagine me actually doing it.
Like getting it done and just, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tough. Next piece. There was some unreleased Mega Man art from the 90s that was bought and preserved. And there was a story on Twitter where somebody just kind of had this, it seemed like a really kind of ambiguous tweet, like, hey, we're seeking donations for Mega Man history. I can't really tell you what it is. Please send me money, essentially. Like,
I haven't thought of this yet. I'm getting on Twitter right now. Hey.
It was really interesting, though. Like, I read it. I was like, who would send this person money, like, sight unseen? They must have a lot of trust. Proto Dude on Twitter, his Twitter says unofficial Mega Man brand ambassador. So he's really a huge kind of Rockman, Mega Man advocate. And the media that was purchased is like original concept art and paintings for Mega Man and Rockman. And some of them are specific to, there was an anime from, what is it, Ruby Spears cartoon that we did actually get. So some of it's like early versions of that's never been seen. But other stuff was kind of thought to be concepts for an anime that we never did get of Rockman, like in Japan. So it's really cool to see. It's really colorful, like really well done art.
The art is fantastic.
Yeah, it's really cool to see. So get another one of those preservation type things.
Yeah. Man, it's really cool art. All right.
Yep. That's pretty much. I mean, that's honestly pretty much it for that. Sonic Lego set is going to get a release at some point. And this is a Lego idea that actually started as part of the Lego idea page. So somebody actually created this from scratch. I'm trying to find the name here again. Aaron, I'm going to say Aaron Ace. And oh, wait, no, sorry. That's I'm dumb. That's actually a Sonic thing. Trying to find Viv Grinnell put together an idea in 2019 for the Sonic the Hedgehog Lego set that's based on the Green Hill Zone. And so they used actual Lego blocks and created this set and put it up on the Lego Ideas page. You got the 10,000 likes or votes. And Sega is basically like, yeah, we love the idea. We'd love to work with Lego. And it's going to be a thing. There's no date yet as to when it's going to be released or anything, but there's some pictures. I'm looking at Retro Dodo for the story. And or Retro Doo-Doo, however you want to say it. And it just looks really cool.
It does look good. Like the Eggman robot looks especially cool. I really like it's like a diorama of like the Green Hill Zone with some enemies and Sonic himself, like as like a what do you call those Lego figurines? Like what do you call those?
I honestly don't know. They're like minifigures or
minifigs. Yeah, that's what you call them. Like the stuff all looks good and like it's like the correct colors and everything. It's not like generic. Like it looks right. It looks like Sonic stuff. Like it looks like Sonic colors. Like the blue is right for Sonic. The browns and the greens are right for the Green Hill Zone. The little TV that you get like power ups from is correct. Like it looks like legit Sonic stuff.
Right.
I mean, it's not like that Mega Bloks bullshit.
Well, it's really interesting because they came out with the Mario set, which was actually licensed straight up from Nintendo. I'm pretty sure. I don't think it came from a Lego idea. So Sega needed some fans to advocate for them, apparently. And doesn't Nintendo own like a piece of a lot of the rights to Sega stuff at this point?
I don't think so.
I mean, like as far as release. You know, because
like a lot of their games come out on the Switch, but a lot of games don't. Like Yakuza games don't come out on Switch. Phantasy Star Online didn't come out on Switch, I don't think. Total War, Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 did come out on Switch, I believe.
I mean, Phantasy Star came out on a lot of Nintendo consoles, though. To be fair,
not online though. The Phantasy Star Online?
That one specifically that was on the Dreamcast. But I mean, like, since then...
No, they have a new...
Oh, I didn't...
That's a new game now. It shares that lineage, but it's all new. Valkyria Chronicles, does that come out? Do they have a Switch release for any of those? I think that's mostly been on the PlayStation, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think so. Like there was a rumor at one point that Nintendo would buy Sega, but they have somehow managed. They've had like a renaissance, to be honest with you. Sega's really had a renaissance in the last 5 years. I think a lot of it has been spurred on by the success of like Phantasy Star Online and Yakuza. But they got a lot of good properties right now, and like a lot of people think of Sega as a failure for. They used to be one of the major players they were one of the major console players, right? It's like they were one of those guys. But now they are a developer and they have a lot of pretty important series.
Do they are they like a full-fledged production company as well? Do they do...
Yeah. Yeah, they develop games themselves. Yeah.
Do they like produce indie developers and stuff like that too, or not?
I don't know.
I was just curious.
But they got a lot of stuff under their umbrella.
Yeah, it's kind of cool to see them still being successful on the software side.
Yeah.
Because that's what was driving the original Sega stuff in the first place, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm still watching their Twitter. Like they said at one point that after the success of the Sega Genesis Mini, that they'd be doing another console like that, like another mini console. And I keep watching. Like I'm really hoping that they do another one of those because, like, their stuff is, I know like a lot of people aren't like Sega fans, but their stuff is so different than what we got on the PlayStation or what we got on the Nintendo 64 or, like it, and it's unexplored, especially here in the US. Like a lot of people just didn't buy into the Sega Saturn or the Dreamcast. And like, it'd be really fun to just kind of like, I don't know that they'd sell a ton of them though. Like if they announced the Sega Saturn Mini, I don't know if they'd sell a ton of them.
How many games would they put on that?
There's a ton of great games to put on it though. Like
I mean, those systems typically only have like 20 games anyways, so.
No, that's not true.
No, like the SNES Mini, the NES Mini,
yeah.
Mini, they all had like 20 games on them, right?
Yeah, you could easily fill it up with games.
They were, I mean, we covered this a long time ago, but the SG-1000 they were speculating was going to come out, and then the potential of a Dreamcast Mini. Yeah. But how well did you said the Genesis Mini sold well? I don't get that perspective, at least on the secondhand market, that there's much of a demand for it.
It's still being sold in stores. The difference is that Nintendo, the reason that Nintendo sells well on the secondary market is because they stopped making the shit. It's like they put out a limited number of them.
True.
And then like of course the secondary market, people are going to want it. You can still go and buy a Sega Genesis Mini like at Best Buy or whatever.
In true Nintendo fashion.
Yeah.
Creating limited demand.
Yeah. Yeah, right? That is like the most Nintendo of Nintendo things to do. or sue somebody. It's one of those two things.
Yeah.
Or make a fantastic Mario game. Like it's one of these three things is going to happen.
I mean, it sounds like we don't like Nintendo, but I'm sitting here literally wearing a Nintendo shirt.
Yeah.
We're talking about Nintendo games today and all that stuff. So we have lots of love for Nintendo. So it's just kind of a meme.
I am torn on Nintendo. Like
really?
Oh yeah. Like I love the creative side of Nintendo. They've made some of the most magical experiences for video games throughout the history of time with the Mario series, the Zelda series, the Metroid series, and like all of the other stuff. They've also provided like the platforms for the Nintendo Entertainment System. The current Switch is absolutely my favorite console right now. I've been playing Cyber Shadow on the Switch and absolutely loving my time with it because I could just like sit here and it just makes it's just such a good console for the game. But like the legal Nintendo corporate, I think they're mostly assholes, right? Like sometimes you got to be able to separate the art from the artist. And for Nintendo, it's more true than any other place for me.
Right. I mean, it makes sense, but it's really interesting because they've kind of been that way since the get-go.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, that's one of the reasons why they were successful in the first place is because they protected their IPs and they protected their brand so hard. If you wanted to be licensed by Nintendo, if you wanted that seal of approval, you had to jump through a ton of hoops.
Yeah.
But it created this quality of product that, especially after the Atari crash and all that kind of stuff that happened, it was definitely necessary back in the day. So it created this precedent, I think, for them to have this like tactician legal kind of idea to protect what their IPs are, what their business model is doing. And I respect it. At the same time, I still it does seem kind of shady in a lot of ways. Like, why are they doing this? But yeah, I mean, they obviously know what they're doing.
There's protecting your IP, but there's also things like how they, when in the late 90s, when Congress was all like, they were holding investigations about like video game violence and like they were really targeting like Night Trap and Mortal Kombat, how Nintendo really publicly threw Sega under the bus. And then like Like when in a time when like we need to protect video games right now, like video games are in real danger of being like censored by the US government. Nintendo just like flippantly said, "Oh, well, we replaced the blood in Mortal Kombat with sweat." And then they realized that they sold a quarter of the cartridges that the Genesis sold in Mortal Kombat, so Mortal Kombat 2 had the blood. Like that to me is just blatantly like,
yeah, it's short-sighted for sure. They were trying
morally
to
corrupt, I would say.
Yeah. They were trying to protect theirs in the short run, but not thinking about the kind of the impact.
They were trying to use the U.S. government to put Sega out of business.
Yeah. I'm not saying that's right.
No, but at the same time, they're also making some of the best video games ever made.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think Shigeru Miyamoto was in court. You know,
no,
like,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I draw shit. You know, like
yeah.
I'm not. That's their business.
Yeah.
I just get paid to draw shit. That's fun. It's awesome.
I don't know. There's a lot to Nintendo's history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking
a lot of people
Sega,
think Sega was run by the mob, the Yakuza. So
well, they have a lot of insider knowledge for the games then, huh?
Yeah.
It's like we know this from experience.
It comes from a real place.
And speaking of Sega, did you? And we could have covered this last show. I don't know why I missed putting it on there. Did you see this Game Gear concept?
No. I'm clicking on this picture. Whoa! What is this? Is this a new?
It's not real, Briar.
Ah, fuck, man! You got me really excited. So this looks like a very modern. I would say like a cross between like a Nintendo Switch and maybe like, well, I mean an analog product, right? It's like a analog to company product, like something like you'd see from the company Analog. Like this thing looks awesome, but it's just a rendering of like a fan who wanted a cool thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like it kind of looks like a Wii U gamepad a little bit too.
Yeah, totally, but like way higher end, like way nicer than a Wii U gamepad.
So there's some design problems with this thing, but the idea of it is super, super cool. It has fingerprint readers on the sticks, which I think is not the smartest decision. Exactly. It's like the back of the Vita. Like you don't need it. The thumbsticks are under the buttons, which doesn't make sense.
Thumbsticks are under the buttons?
Yeah, and under the control pad.
You mean like just lower down on the face of the controller. I see what you're saying.
And
this
then there's
is
some
fucking cool. This is on Retro Doo-Doo as well.
I don't think that's how that's pronounced, Briar. That's great. I'm never gonna be able to get that out of my head now. We don't hate you, Retro Dodo. The back actually looks super cool. It's got like a camera, which I imagine theoretically could be used for AR games and whatnot. But I don't know. It's super sleek looking. It's like a super high end Vita Switch crossover looking thing.
Yeah, it's got like so if you want to look at this thing for yourself, because it's pretty cool looking, you just like Google like Sega Game Gear concept.
Yeah.
And maybe throw Retro Doo-Doo in there as a search term. But it looks awesome. It also has like that kind of Android-like bottom kind of few like touch buttons. But it's not a real thing. It's just a completely made up thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those shortcuts on the bottom, I think, are kind of ridiculous too, because they're permanent and whatnot. But
they wouldn't like fade away while you're playing the game?
I don't think.
Yeah,
I
you're
think
right.
those are like
not in these renders.
But the idea of that and the thought of them coming out with another, considering, if you think about it, Nintendo's kind of done with handhelds.
What are you talking about? The Switch is a handheld.
I know, but I mean pure handhelds. I do agree that the Switch is a really, really, really nice crossover, and it'll be interesting to see. There was some news that I didn't put on here.
As pure as it gets, Jay.
Yeah,
as pure as it gets.
Listen, I love the Switch too. I'm not talking trash about the Switch, but it's not it's kind of the best of both worlds, but at the same time, it's ginormous.
It's just the right size.
It
fits in a pocket.
If you can't tell, if you're just listening, he's putting up this. It's like 9 inches long.
Not only is it a Switch, but it's also got like mega like controllers on it.
Maybe if you had Jenko jeans, they'd fit in your pocket.
Oh, now you're gonna make fun of my fashion? First you go after my favorite console of all time, and then you talk about my favorite jeans of all. Next you're gonna be making fun of Crocs right here in front of my face.
I've never worn Crocs, so I can't. I mean, I've never worn Jinko jeans, but I saw those a lot more as a teenager than I ever saw Crocs.
Crocs, you're missing out if you're not wearing Crocs. I'm wearing them right now.
I don't really want to have sweaty feet all the time, so.
No, they have holes in them. They evaporate the sweat right away from your feet.
I love, like, I want to know how much those were. Those look like boutique Crocs.
Well, I don't know. I only have the best Crocs, Jay.
What are they? $17.99, highest end Crocs you can buy.
Crocs are surprisingly expensive considering they're made out of foam.
God, the marketing people for that product are geniuses. Like, but yeah, I always go like, who the heck are they marketing to? It seems like the only reason that you'd want to wear Crocs is to do gardening work. Like, why else are you gonna wear Crocs?
You can wear them. To me, they're slippers, right? It's like they're just my house shoes, and like considering like 99% of my time now, especially in COVID, is spent around the house. I wear them quite a bit. But like
this picture of Briar walking around in Crocs is magical.
Oh, it feels magical. Let me tell you, the ultimate comfort and style.
We're gonna find out months later that he's been secretly sponsored by Crocs.
Oh, I've been trying. I've been tweeting at him like all the time. I bet I tweet him like 3-4 times a week.
Really?
Yeah.
Thirsty for that Croc loving.
I don't even need the money. I want to be acknowledged by my favorite shoe brand. Some people like are all about like the Jordans, waiting in line to get the Jordans. I just want new Lightning McQueen Crocs, man. Like, what the fuck?
He's sitting outside of Kohl's at 4 a.m, waiting for that shit to get
that
released.
New Croc drop.
Like, where are they gonna drop Crocs? At retail stores like Target? Yo, why are you here? Are you here to get a PS5? No, dude, I'm here to get the new Croc.
Get the new Jibbits. I think they're awesome.
I guess I can't talk too much trash because I've never actually worn them. So I'm
gonna send you some. When's your birthday? What's your birthday?
May 12th.
Oh, that's right around the corner, Jay.
It is. Yeah.
Crocs incoming. I think I have your address.
Birthday?
Did you put a return address on that?
I hope not.
I hope you did. I hope I saved that envelope too.
I think that's my PO box. I think that's my PO box. When's your birthday now that we're getting on
March?
Birthday? Okay, so you're the student March what?
15th. The Ides of March.
My brother's the 12th.
Oh, really?
And my mom's the 28th. March.
Oh, gee. A lot of March love.
March. What? Yeah.
Let's talk. Go ahead. What do you got?
I was going to get into what sign is that?
Pisces, the fish.
Pisces.
Yeah.
Gotcha. You're a fish. You like Crocs. It makes sense.
That's right. Always ready to just jump in that water. And the water just drains out.
Great.
Let's talk some Punch Out, man. I know we kind of previewed it a little bit earlier in the show. We shared how far we got. You won this week's challenge by a long shot, I would say. Probably.
I mean, I should have. It was one of my favorite games as a kid.
I like this game. It's fun, but man, it's hard.
Yeah, it's amazing how much of those reflexes and instincts come back. Like, I haven't played that much of this game in the last 30 years. Which it was released in 87, by the way. I was 2 years old when it released. And
up and gaming early.
Yeah. But we played it a lot as a kid. I think it was one of the games that we owned with like TMNT, and just knowing like how to get the like uppercut stars from the different boxers and things like that.
That in itself is like a skill and like something you have to learn, because it's different for every boxer you face. And like I think that once you start getting into the harder difficulties, you need those uppercut stars to take those boxers down before the time limit is up.
Literally, Bald Bull 2, you cannot knock him down without an uppercut. His energy bar will stay full until you can get an uppercut. But he does this like really cheesy, like hit me in the tummy to get a star kind of vibe. It's really super cheesy, cheeseball kind of. Yeah, but you do absolutely need stars, and it's one of the only ways that you can get some fighters out in like a single round and stuff like that. So knowing that, and like I'm pretty sure the first time I plugged it in and played through it a few nights ago, I got to Bald Bull or something without taking a single hit from any boxer.
Wow.
And that it's not for me trying to be a bragger. It's just literally I've played this game so much as a kid that I just remembered a lot of that stuff and exactly what to do, you know? So
I didn't own this one when I was a kid, but I had a friend who did, and he was very good at it. And I remember actually sitting and watching him play it, and it was like, this game looks better than it has any right to look. Like,
yeah,
because the like most of the graphics are very simple. Like the mat is just kind of like one solid flat color, and like the backgrounds are pretty simple. Like really, it's amazing how much detail you get out of the boxers. Like Little Mac is a really tiny little sprite, like in the front of the screen, and then the enemy boxer could be like a much bigger sprite than most of the stuff you were looking at in the NES. They're animated very well, to the point where you really got a feeling for their personality. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what makes one fall in love with this game, is the personality of the boxers. You know, they each have this kind of, the animation brings out their kind of, well, the personality. I'm going to stop saying personality now.
Every time, like each boxer, when they get hit, the faces they make are pretty funny to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, but the animations of like the way they come into the ring, and like the way they kind of hop towards you, or their special moves, and like, you know, racism wasn't taken as seriously back in the day, so probably you wouldn't be able to get away with something like this now. Maybe, I mean, it's not over the top, but like they lean into like stereotypes a little bit that probably isn't as acceptable anymore. But I don't feel like it's ever meant to be mean. You know, it's just meant to be fun, and it's just a very charming game. You know, like it's amazing. Like the fact that now, like, you can definitely throw like the racist card at it. Mike Tyson, you know, like his history is very very, like storied. So like the game itself it's whimsical. It's very difficult. Like it forces one to get quite good at it. But it eggs you on. It encourages you to keep playing, because it is a learnable game. You can get better at it. The animations are also fun and, inviting. And like Little Mac is an amazing hero.
Yeah, and the original Punch-Out game in the arcade, it was just kind of a wireframe. There wasn't any kind of story, which if you play Super Punch-Out, it looks almost exactly like the original arcade game, which is pretty dope.
The original arcade game was developed because they had too many monitors. So they were looking for a reason to use 2 monitors in an arcade cabinet.
Yeah.
And this is what they came up with.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I feel like it was a good use, because the top monitor was just kind of like the sporting event type thing, where you had the score and the energy and the fighters that you were playing, their records and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it was really basic, but in my opinion, all of the Punch-Out games, none of them have been bad.
No, I've never played a bad one. I've never played the Wii version, but I've heard it's amazing.
Good. Yeah. I mean, I'm not big on motion controls and stuff, but I can't. Doesn't that one have motion controls? I owned it at one point. I can't remember. I feel like it did.
I've been looking for it. I haven't found it yet.
I don't think it's super expensive. I think it's in like $25-$30 range.
I try and find things like at stores, because especially in the COVID times. It's nice to just be able to go out and have a reason to go out. And there's not a whole lot of people hanging out in retro video game stores. So it's like one of the few escapes I could get like right now to get out of the house. So I've been trying not to buy stuff off of eBay, but I will. Like I've been trying to buy all the games we talk about in this show. So I will buy them off of eBay if I have to.
Yeah. And the story about Mike Tyson's Punch-Out specifically, it was licensed before Tyson was a champion.
Yeah.
So they got to him, like they saw his potential. And what I heard was, I saw it, I think somebody in chat last night typed that they paid him $50,000 for licensing rights for his name. And like, you look at the box and it's like, he's front and center on the box. And the funny thing is, the game was released in 87 and he won his title in 86. So it came out after he got his championship.
Yeah.
But the licensing agreement was from before. And so it definitely, I think at the time, used his fame to blow up. And it sold millions of copies.
Do I see a non-Mike Tyson version of Punch-Out behind you?
I do. I have I have both because, again, it was one of my favorite games. So I found this one actually at the local retro store, and it's in really good shape. There's like one little ding on the box or whatever, but it's in really nice shape because...
So when Mike Tyson got in trouble, right? His contract.
No. That actually had nothing to do with this.
Okay.
No. So the reason it's no longer Mike Tyson is because they lost, or they didn't lose. The license lapsed, like the contract lapsed.
Yeah.
And it was also following his loss to Buster Douglas. So Nintendo thought he was done. Nintendo thought that he no longer had the same kind of value, didn't see him as the same champion. So this is before all of the legal drama that he had gone through, which that actually goes more into the speculation that a game called Power Punch was going to be a sequel. Power Punch 2 was supposed to be a Punch-Out sequel, at least is kind of how it's understood. I don't know if that's official or not, but that was following all of his drama. And so they changed the name of Power Punch 2, and they changed the hero. And Power Punch 2 is this weird game where you're like a boxer in space fighting aliens. It's kind of a bizarre thing. It didn't sell well. It's kind of janky to play, but you can tell. If it was
called Mike Tyson Space Boxing, it would have sold well.
Yeah. Well, the apparently they retitled it after all of his drama and relicensed it and all that stuff. So that was kind of a whole interesting story that doesn't have a ton of information online. But specifically, the Mike Tyson's Punch-Out did not include any drama about his legal troubles at all. That was purely like a contractual thing.
Well, they nailed it. Nintendo, possibly nailed the best licensing deal of all time. They got Mike Tyson in his prime and dropped him before he raped anybody.
Yeah, good call, Nintendo.
Yeah.
And for those who aren't aware of the game was only in development for 2 or 3 years, even the newer one, the regular Punch-Out game. So in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, obviously the last fighter is Mike Tyson, and he's really, really, really difficult for anybody that plays this game. It's like a one-hit KO in the beginning and stuff. The Punch-Out boss is Mr. Dream, which I actually haven't played that, and now I kind of want to at least get to Mr. Dream, see how he plays. But every other.
I wonder if he's just Mike Tyson but white. Like I wonder if they just recolored Mike Tyson. Now he's Mr. Dream, but like all the moves are the same and everything.
I don't know. It says he's 99-0 with 99 KOs, so I don't know.
That's pretty good. That's a good record.
Yeah, that's an. I don't think he's like the same sprite. I think it's a new sprite.
Yeah.
But that'd be interesting, like if they just like made him white and changed his face a little bit, but everything else was the same.
I wonder if like all the moves and everything are the same.
I don't think it is, but it'd be interesting to check it out for sure. I've never actually played this one ever.
No,
I've only ever played the Mike Tyson one.
Yeah, like a reasonable person.
And Mike Tyson was on Jimmy Fallon and tried to fight himself, and he just got destroyed.
Yeah.
He had never really actually played the game until 2013. there's a picture in some documentary of him playing it, but he said in some interview, like he was at some sports place for an interview, and he said that he had never really played it until like 2013, which is really interesting.
Turns out a lot of his free time was spent boxing, not playing video games.
Right. Yeah, like if you look up Mike Tyson's Punch Out, one of the top pictures is going to be him shirtless with like boxing shorts on, with a Nintendo controller, like looking super happy at some nondescript screen with like light coming at him. So it's assumed that he's playing the game, but I don't think he actually is. I think that photo was taken like before the game was even available to play.
Yeah, that makes sense. I love this game. I think it's a fantastic game. I think actually I really like the Super Nintendo version as well. Although for some reason they didn't keep with Little Mac, which was really kind of upsetting to me.
Right.
Because one of the things about this game is that, you know, I'm sure it was a game design decision because they couldn't do the wireframe model like they did for the arcade version. If you've never seen the arcade version, it features the same kind of layout, but your character is this green wireframe that is in front of the opposing boxer, and you can see through your wireframe at the opposing boxer and what he's doing. I assume they couldn't do that because of technological limitations of the NES. So what they did is they made this really tiny boxer, but it really gives you the sense, like, to punch somebody in the face, you have to literally jump in the air and, like, you know, punch up. And it gives you this real sense of, like, you're the underdog, you're the little guy against the big guy, David Goliath story. And it really makes the whole thing so charming and so fun. I've played the arcade version, and the arcade version is fun, but it's not as fun as the NES version. The NES version is way better than the arcade version. And I suspect that's a lot to do with Little Mac and, like, that reach that he's got to do, where he little jumps up to hit somebody in the face.
Yeah, I mean, it was progression before progression was a thing. Like, you can't rank up, it's not an RPG, but you obviously, as a person, as a player, are getting better and getting better skilled and stuff. And so you start fighting these harder fighters and getting better and better. And you just have this connection with Little Mac in that way. Like, yeah, we can do this. We can beat him. Let's go. Let's go. You know, and it's just kind of this inherent thing as opposed to something that's built into the game to force you to progress.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was kind of interesting.
And then you've got like the training sequence where Doc is riding the bike and you're running behind him through the streets of New York, and you come up to the Statue of Liberty, and like between rounds, Doc is talking to you in the corner, giving you tips on how to beat the guy you're facing. Like, there's so much to it. Like, it's really a fantastic game.
Yeah, make sure to order your Nintendo Power, Briar. It's literally so that Doc is like, don't forget the Nintendo Power Club. Or
does he really?
Like yeah, it's really weird. And some of the music is some of the most iconic too during those training fights. Dun 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 dun. You know what haunts me to this day though? Getting knocked down by one of those harder fighters towards the end. They all have the same fucking laugh. Every time you get knocked down.
Is it the
It's like, you son of a bitch. Like, that laugh haunts me. All of those, like, Bald Bull, Soda Popinski, Macho Man, they all have that same laugh. And I hated it. There's a lot of interesting information, too, about this game. Before the official release in Japan, they sent out 10,000 gold copies of this game, Famicom cards. And it was based on a competition for Golf US, like for Famicom. And like the boss was Super Macho Man, even though Tyson was on the cover of the thing, he wasn't even in the game yet. And those gold carts sell for like $250 to $500 on eBay.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, wow. It's so good. Bald Bull is right on the cover. Why did the Famicom get such better cartridges than we got?
I don't know.
They're colorful. They're small. They're cute. They got better art. Like, why did we get fucked?
Well, it's probably all part of the video game crash where Nintendo, their whole design is based on trying to look like a home computer, right?
Trying to sneak in the back door.
There's a joke there somewhere.
Yeah.
They didn't want to They didn't want to look like a game console.
Dude, I so want this. Why do I want this so bad? The gold cartridge with bald bull?
Yeah.
It's only $250. I can afford that.
Well,
I can buy that.
$250-ish for card only, probably up to $500 with the box.
I don't need the box.
Someday I'd like to own it.
Like I would love to collect Famicom cartridges because they're so much more colorful. Like they're just so much more joyful. NES cartridges are just black. Like they're cool because they got like the labels and everything, or not black but gray. They got the good labels on them, but they all look the same when they're on the shelf. You know, unless you have the boxes. You collect the boxes, so it all looks different. But man, these Famicom carts
I
so
may
good.
want to talk to you because I have a giant box of 200 Famicom carts that I don't know what to do with.
Really?
So if you'd like to buy some, because there's some of them are pretty dirty, you can have a project and clean them up and make them look nice.
I do like dirty. I like to. My Genesis looks like it's been dropped down a flight of concrete stairs, but I like it the more because it still works. Like I was able to kind of fix it up. I had to do a little bit of work to it to get it working, but now it's got some history to it. It could have been thrown away, but it's still playing video games to this day.
All right. So I'm going to be selling Briar some Famicom games. Soda Popinski in the NES game, actually in the arcade game, was Vodka Drunkinski.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they had to kind of PG it down.
You think that was done because they wanted to be more respectful of Russians, or because they didn't want to put alcohol references in a kid's game? Yeah, yes, me too.
Has nothing to do with the Russian thing. Like, considering all the other stuff in the game, like, we got to be careful about the Russian population. You know, not like that'd be the last thing that I would think that they would be thinking, considering all the other stuff in the game. Mario in the game actually was not planned or approved. It kind of like slipped under the radar.
Oh, really?
Which is why he looks kind of funky too, because they didn't edit him like at all.
He used to show up in like all NES games, right?
Right.
Like he used to be in everything. It's funny too, when he comes on the screen, Little Mac's gloves and shorts turn white because they only had so many colors they could put on the screen. Yeah, so normally Little Mac's shorts and gloves are green, but when the ref comes out, which is Mario, like they had to put white on the screen so that it changes his shorts and his gloves to white while Mario's out there. So like when the countdown is happening or whatever.
Right. I was also trying to figure out why in the hell is Soda Popinski purple?
Why is that?
I'm one like, no, I seriously don't know. I didn't look it up, but if anybody out there knows why he's purple, I mean, he's supposed to look like grape soda. I don't know. It's really bizarre.
I always thought he was just supposed to be like pale.
He's like so pale. He's like, you can see the blood through his skin. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's got some kind of, he needs to go see somebody about it.
Yeah.
Or no, I guess, okay, so I did write it down. Mr. Dream did use Tyson's sprite, but I don't know if his fighting moves were the same.
Interesting. I'm guessing they were the same if they use the same sprite. Would they just change the head or the hairstyle or something?
Yeah, I don't know. His face looks different, so I don't know. There was a secret fourth circuit that I have not tried where you can enter in a secret code, press A, B together, and go to another world circuit, which is like a secret mode of play where you can play a different order of fighters. But if you lose, you're back to square one. You like go all the way back to the beginning. So for those who haven't played this game, normally when you get to a certain level of the championship, there's like 3 levels. If you get to say the last guy in the level and lose, you go back like 2 fighters or something, and you start back like 3 fighters ago instead of going all the way back to the beginning of the game. But this secret mode, you have to go all the way back. And we did talk about Power Punch. The last thing as a collector you may want to know is that there are 6 versions of the cart design, which most of them are very similar. The ones to take note of specifically are if you have a cart that has the white bullets, and I say bullets, it's like on the left side where, no, I'm going to have to, actually, no, you can see it on the box. So on the box, it's the same thing, right? It says, fight Tyson in the Dream Bout, challenge boxers from around the globe, and win and become WVBA champ. So it's the same on the box. If those dots were white,
But the
it would
text
mean
is
that
still orange?
yes, text is orange, dots are white. That'd be the first print of the game, and the same goes for the cart if you happen to have the white. And it basically doubles the price of it.
Wow.
The cart, the box, everything.
Whenever Jay starts telling me about stuff like this, I always have to go look at the cartridge I have, and it's never the right version. Ever.
There's the special letter, and again, this is one of the things that I hope to get for my collection. I'm pretty sure the letter goes for like $100 by itself. But there's a special letter from Tyson, quote unquote, that has like a bunch of I read the letter online, you can read it, and it's a bunch of like actually really good quotes and words of encouragement from Mike Tyson, like don't give up, don't let anybody intimidate you, that kind of stuff. Which I think is kind of funny now considering all the other stuff. But let's see here. The one to really take note of, which is really interesting because it's just like the third release cartridge. It's not the first release, it's not even the second. It's I'm pretty sure it's the third or fourth. There's a 5-screw version randomly. All the other ones are 3-screw, but the 5-screw version can sell for between $500 and $1,000 just for the cartridge.
Wow.
And it's just a super rare printing that there's not very many of, and it's the most sought after thing for collectors.
This shit don't make any sense.
It's bizarre. The cartridge that I have is actually the last iteration. The only one that has an oval seal, Nintendo seal, is the last one. So that's what I have. All the other ones have the circle silver seal on it.
There's no differences in the game though? Like
no. Nope. None.
Interesting.
But yeah, they do that. And like there's different manuals with different revisions and different little pieces of information and stuff like that. It's pretty typical for old Nintendo games to have that. Like the original Mario, I think we've talked about, had like 10 different versions of the printings and stuff, but the game was the same.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
You know, I wonder if any of our viewers could help us out there. I wonder if there's a list out there. Because remember, if you've ever like seen a list of like ROMs for NES or Genesis or anything like that, there's always like revisions. There's several revisions of many of the games. Like I think one of the most famous ones is Revenge of Shinobi, where like they had Spider-Man, Batman, and Godzilla in there, and they like slowly kept taking those characters out of the game because they didn't have the rights to use any of them.
Oh no.
So there's like several revisions. Like I wonder if there's any kind of like a database that has like, here's the revisions, here's the 3 revisions of Punch Out, you know, here's how you can tell them apart physically, you know what I mean?
I don't think that there's any kind of collective site, but if you search for information, there's like bits and pieces out there. So if somebody had the passion to put something like that together, I think the information is mostly out there.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
WATA, WATA, which is the grading company associated with Heritage Auctions, they're the ones that kind of put out the information with the boxes. They internally have a lot of this information as opposed to, or excuse me, in reference to the kind of different prints and all that kind of stuff. Because if you get something graded, they're going to tell you like what printing you had and all that kind of stuff. So they have the information, but they haven't publicly published all of it yet to this point. So it'll be interesting.
Keep keeping that information.
A little bit.
Well, I think Punch Out, if you own an NES or if you want to like experience the NES lifestyle from the 1980s, Punch Out is one of the top 10 games you have to try out. Like it takes the guise of a sports game, but it's something much more than a sports game, right? It's a Nintendo game through and through.
Yeah, it's almost like a strategy puzzle game kind of thing where you have to figure out all the routines and patterns and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is one of the most iconic of the NES games.
That's great. So, do you have any thoughts on what game that we would like to cover in the next episode?
I was thinking about this. I think I would like to go a little something more obscure. We've been doing, Punch Out is like wicked mainstream. So I was thinking a little something more obscure. Did you happen to pick up Legendary Axe? But you don't have a way to play it.
For the Turbo Graphics.
Yeah.
I have it, but I don't have a way to play it.
All right, so why don't we hold off on that until the Turbo Duo comes out? Yeah.
It turns out that the PC Engine that I got, the Japanese one, doesn't actually play American TurboGrafx games. It can play American PC Engine games, but only Japanese hue cards.
Interesting.
I didn't realize that when I bought it.
Yeah.
I'll have the Turbo Duo soon, so.
Yeah. You got any ideas?
I honestly didn't think. Final Fantasy's on my list, but we don't have to do that this time.
That's going to be a tough one because that's going to take the full 2 weeks. It's going to be like my game for the 2 weeks. Yeah. I would love to play the original Final Fantasy, though. I've never played it.
It's tough to, because you get lost if you don't like pay attention to what all the villagers and stuff say. They basically are telling you where to go, and if you're not talking to them and all that stuff, you kind of get lost. So it can be tough. But one of these days, I'd like to do it.
Yeah.
You don't have to. What else is on our list? Like, let's get it down to system first.
Okay. All right. Well, what system would you like to try a game for?
I mean, you've been talking about how much Nintendo stuff. I'm always gonna want Nintendo stuff because that's what I have the most of. But
all right.
Like,
we can do Nintendo. I mean, how about a Nintendo 64 game? Do you have a Nintendo 64?
I do. I have most of the games that you could ever name for N64.
Okay.
And actually, you know what? How obscure do you want to go?
Well, I could go pretty obscure.
Do you want to go obscure for N64 or for Super Nintendo? Because I have one on my list for Super Nintendo.
Okay, what do you got?
You ever heard of a game called Pocky and Rocky?
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah, of course.
You could do something like that, or something like Zombies Ate My Neighbors, or...
I've never played Zombie Ate My Neighbors. I've actually never played either of those games. So I'm going to leave that one up to you.
They're actually similar gameplay, actually. Like top-down, you're...
Yeah.
Kind of... Yeah.
All right, the one wrench I would throw into this, I am 100% on board for either Zombies Ate My Neighbors or Pocky and Rocky. The one wrench I would throw into this would be, it'd be super fun to play GoldenEye. Because it's in the news right now, it'd be fun to go back and play that game on the N64.
I'm down for that, too. I feel like that's what we got to do.
I'm going to leave it up to you. I'll play any of those three games. I think it'd be fun to play any three of them. I don't think I could buy Zombies Ate My Neighbors or Pocky and Rocky. I think those are both pretty expensive games.
Zombies not that bad card only. Zombies is like in the 30 to 40 range card only. Pocky and Rocky's like 100 card only.
Oh, I could still buy that. I mean, I'm worried about. I know that at some point we're gonna hit a game that's like $500. I'm like,
Pocky and Rocky 2 is up there. Yeah, number 1's not that bad though. I mean, relatively, it's still expensive. $100.
Yeah. I mean, I spent new games are $70 now. You know what I mean? Like an extra $30 doesn't seem, especially for something that you know is going to probably appreciate over time.
It's funny too because the first Pocky and Rocky, the reason that I remember how much I spent on it is because it was $69, like
nice
7 years ago. Yeah, I was like, sweet. I will remember that. I mean, there's so many good games to cover. I was thinking about like Paper Mario would be one that would be good to cover at some point.
Yeah.
And
they've been asking us to play Super Mario RPG.
Yeah, somebody keeps bugging Briar to play Super Mario RPG.
I want to play it. There's only so much time in the day, though, you know?
Yeah.
And I am really stuck on Cyber Shadow. Like, I am beating that game 100%. Yeah. Like, I've got to do it.
And at some point, probably before April, we probably should cover like Pokemon Snap, maybe, perhaps.
Yeah.
Coming out with a new one.
I like sniping Pokemon. That's fun.
Yeah. It's a fun game. I think GoldenEye is a good choice.
You want to do GoldenEye?
Yeah.
Okay. GoldenEye it is for the N64. I don't own a copy, so I'm going to have
polygonal. Yeah, I'm down for some polygonal punishment.
Yeah. Are you going to play it on the N64? Would an acceptable alternative be to play the emulated version, like the new version, the Xbox 360 version?
Oh, no,
you have to play the. What if I have the emulated version, but I play it in the classic mode with the classic graphics, but I still play it at 60 FPS with the
no.
Okay, Jay is
drawing
a line in the sand.
If we're
How
gonna
much
play
does
the
this thing cost on
game,
eBay? I'm looking it up right now.
No, it's not. It's like $25. If you play it emulated, that's fine, but you got to play the N64 ROM. If we're gonna do an N64 game,
you got to play the N64 ROM.
Yeah, because we have to experience the like lower frame rate and kind of it's got this part of the experience.
No, I agree. It's totally 100% part of the experience. Oh my god, you can buy it in. Oh no, that's cart. How much to get it in like the whole box and everything? It's only $34 complete in box.
No.
No.
Hold on. Are you looking at price charting?
No, I'm looking on eBay.
That's probably what the current bid is, right?
It's in the right. I forgot to put.
It's in the 50 to 60 range complete. I mean, if you auction, you can get a cheaper copy if you snipe it, or if a auction goes low, or if it's kind of a beat up copy. Like here's a copy that sold in Canada for 32, but it was $20 shipping, so it's more like 52, 53. And it depends on if you get the player's choice or the non-player's choice and all that, this and the other. But the one thing that you have to keep in mind as a meme for this game is the very long mouth of Pierce Brosnan. Have you seen that meme?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, if you look like he's got the hand with the pistol,
yeah,
and it's like right next to his mouth.
It looks like
just imagine like he's the Joker with like a really it's just perfect. Like, who holds their gun like this exactly? Anyways,
yeah, I'm seeing like more like $100 for the complete inbox.
Look at sold.
Yeah, I'm just gonna get the cartridge. I don't want the box that much. Jay, I got a question for you. Have you ever seen these custom game cases?
Which ones? What are they called?
I think if you go to customgamecases.com. I think I'm Googling that right now. Yeah, customgamecases.com. You ever seen something like that? Like,
oh yeah.
I think that's kind of a neat thing, right? Because you get the box art. You don't get the cardboard box, but you get the box art and you get like a protective case for your cartridge. I think that's kind of neat.
Yeah, they're neat. They can just run expensive for somebody like me. I mean, they're like $5 or $6 a pop, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And you get like 20. That's $100. That's enough to buy a game for me in my mind. So
yeah.
I don't have a lot of cases like that. Actually, pretty much the only ones that I have, I've bought as a lot, as a part of game lots or something like that, are the ones that I end up keeping. Because I would rather have just put the cart in the like media shelf or have the box and everything. So I don't have many of these, but there was a point in time. You should look at what is it called? The Game Art Project. And there's a website with a forum of very passionate people that upload really high res images of like box art and stuff.
Oh, really?
And there was a whole thing where if you like went to Kinko's and got it printed out on photo paper, like matte photo paper and stuff, and if you cut it out to a certain dimensions and you put them in these plastic cases, you could make it look like, on a shelf, make it look like you have the boxes and stuff. And in my brain, I was like, oh, that sounds like a fun idea. And then I was like trying to like parse out the time and cost. I was like, the cases are all like $250 each. Going to Kinko's and all this work, that's a lot of effort.
Yeah.
For somebody that is into that kind of project, it's a super, super clean way to display carts and whatnot.
I liked it when I saw it. I liked it because it also protects the carts, right, from like whatever environmental damage like dust and debris and stuff like that that'll get inside the cartridge. And they're kind of like, they're not specifically Genesis cases, but they're Genesis style plastic clamshell cases that snap together. And you can put like on this website, you can get the art printed for you, so it just shows up with the correct art. I thought it was a pretty neat idea. I was thinking about it, but I was like, I don't know. Like, you're right. It does get expensive.
For somebody like you that has, a solid collection of stuff and, more things that you're really into curating each individual item, I think it definitely would make sense. For somebody like me, not as much, I don't think. They do have, we were talking before the show about retro protection cases, the like plastic acrylic cases. They do have individual cart-sized acrylic cases that you can get for like 30, 40, 50 cents a piece too.
Oh, maybe that's smarter. Because then
if you want to keep it protected, but not break the bank kind of thing.
Because all this crack smoke is just getting all over my cartridges.
I don't know if that's how it works, Brian.
It's just like you can see the crack crystals, like literally.
Smoke. Yeah, just sprinkling them.
Yeah, it's just meth all
coming
over these
straight
things.
from his Crocs. That's the whole deal with Crocs, is they're an underground business for smuggling illegal substances.
That's right.
They're like in that foam. Like
I have 300 pairs. I have more Crocs than Jay has retro games.
You probably. I mean, I don't have very many pairs of shoes.
No, I don't.
How many pairs of Crocs do you have?
I have 3 pairs of Crocs. I have the pair I showed earlier, a pair that are canvas topped, like the bottom, like the sole of the shoe is like that Croc material, but the top of it is like a loafer. It looks like canvas loafer. And I have a very old pair of Crocs that I need to throw away. I just bought this pair to replace that pair. Probably a month ago.
Go places with Crocs?
No, I don't leave the house. No.
That's his line. All right.
Yeah,
it's like, I love my Crocs. I'll talk about them on the internet, but hell, I don't want anybody in real life seeing me with these things on.
No. I'll only wear them outside, like to like the mailbox. That's as far as I'll get.
All right.
Do you have any retro pickups that you want to show off?
I have a couple.
All right, let's see.
Just kind of been keeping it pretty low key. So, speaking Final Fantasy Mystic Quest for the SNES complete in box, in good shape.
That looks in really good shape.
This is something that I had been wanting to add to the collection. It's not even like, it was like $50. So it wasn't super crazy expensive or anything like that. Final Fantasy 3 and Final Fantasy 2 are way more expensive, which I'm still searching for the number 2 box. And I've never played it. I've never actually played any of the SNES versions. I think I've played a little bit of 2 and 3 on the GBA remakes that they had, but I haven't actually played them on Super Nintendo. So I don't know
Quest
why.
was like their attempt to make like a Western friendly Final Fantasy, right? It was supposed to appeal to us, but it didn't actually sell that well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know a whole lot about it, to be honest. So I like getting games and kind of looking them up and learning more about them and stuff. So I probably will be doing that.
I think it's supposed to be a pretty good game. It's it's not like people don't fawn over it like Final Fantasy 6, but I think it's
and the Final Fantasy like east to west numbering system always confuses me. Like, number 1 and what like number 2 is 4 for us, or like I don't even know. It's just really weird. Like, why can't you? They're fucking numbers. Like, can't we just go sequentially? Thank you.
Yeah, well, they just didn't come out here.
Yeah.
And for some reason, they thought they had to number it to look like they all came out here.
Yeah.
I don't know. We also didn't know dick when we were kids about like this stuff. So like Final Fantasy 2, okay. Like we didn't find out till, much later that there had been other Final Fantasies.
Yeah.
Whatever. It is weird. And it's confusing to talk about them now. Like the like the Xbox, like what Xbox are you talking about?
So the only other thing that I got was a GBA SP Nintendo Edition.
That is the best Game Boy.
Complete.
That is. Are you going to use that? Are you going to play with it? Like,
no.
Are you going to twiddle the buttons?
I have one that I refurbed that I play with. That's right here. That's because this one's not a 101 either.
So it's not backlit?
It's front lit. So, and the thing about it, actually, this one, it was supposed to be like new in box, which is why I bought it. And then I opened it up and there's some scuffs on the top and the bottom. So I'm going to reach back out to the seller and be like, hey, is there anything that we can do? I mean, there's a possibility I might send this back.
Really?
I spent what would have been a good price for mint in box, but having the couple of scuffs, I'm like, I don't know how much I paid for it, considering.
Yeah.
So we'll see what they say. But I mean, it's in really good shape. It's in very good condition, but I wouldn't put it in the like new or mint shape category. Just there's like a little scuff on the top, like it's pretty significant, and then on the bottom too. Inside is perfectly crystal clean. Screen looks great, but yeah.
That's my favorite SP is the NES like controller version of it. I just think it's so cool looking.
It's really cool. I had never really gotten into like the special edition handheld stuff. I'm really into handhelds though. I have quite a few of them, and they're just even in the like they sent it to me. I'm a little upset. They sent it to me in a small priority box, like the flat rate ones. You know, the ones that look like basically the size of a Genesis box.
Yeah.
I got it in the mail. I'm like, I don't know if they sent me the box, like, because it didn't look big enough. And then I open it up, and sure enough, this barely fit inside of it. With no packaging material, just
no padding or anything.
I was like, really? Yeah. So I was a little upset by that. You need to like, whenever you ship stuff, just FYI, you need to have some pad. You need to have room for padding on all sides. And if it's something really rare and valuable, double box it. Put it in that small rate box, and then put it in a slightly bigger box and pad all around it so that it's protected. But because if anything had punctured that box, it would have gone straight through.
Yeah.
You know, so fortunately it didn't, but could have. I've seen I got an inbox Super Smash Bros. For 64 like that with no protection, and there was a beer spill in the shipment. So I got it in like a USPS bag with like it was just like covered in brown shit. And I opened it up, and there was like a good chunk that just had water damage on the box, and I was like, you know, so
damn,
protect the stuff for sure.
Yeah.
Did you pick up anything other than the TMNT I sent you?
No, yeah, you sent me the TMNT. I really like that. I sent a picture. I believe I told the story how my mother had gotten me that for a Christmas when I was a kid, and I opened it up and was playing it like before Christmas. So I sent her a picture of the box, and she laughed and she said, "You're such an asshole." We got a good kick out of that together,
nice.
Which we really appreciate. But no, I've been stopping by the retro game store, but. Nothing's really kicked my fancy, so I've been walking out empty-handed. I did see Cybernator for the Super Nintendo, which I've never played before, and I've always wanted to check out, but I don't know, for some reason I didn't buy it.
I don't think that's a very expensive game either.
No, it was like $20 or so.
Yeah.
I just wasn't feeling it.
I might own that. I'm not sure. I'd have to look.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like the pickings are slim at ye old retro game store these days.
Really?
Like every time I go in there, there's like either the same old shit or holes where like the good stuff was. You know, it hasn't been restocked. The only cool thing I saw was RoboCop versus Terminator, but I already have a copy of that. There's actually a RoboCop versus Terminator and a copy of Rocket Knight Adventures, which are two of my favorite games. Like both of those games are really good.
Both for Genesis.
Yeah.
I was like, because Rocket Knight's a Genesis game, not a Super Nintendo game.
I think they made a Rocket Knight for Super Nintendo as well, but I don't think it's as good.
There's a Sparkster.
Sparkster, yeah, same character though.
I want to get Sparkster, but it's like $125-$150 just for the cart.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, I didn't buy it either.
I want to get, since you opened me up to RoboCop vs. Terminator, I've been looking for a copy in box because it has like a unique box where the front of the SNES box is, I think it's plastic.
Oh, you don't want the Super Nintendo version. You want the Genesis version specifically.
I might just get the cart of of the Genesis, but I want the box of, because it's like this molded plastic, like indented, really cool.
Oh, the box? It's not a cardboard box?
Oh, like the back, like it just kind of slides in. It's like a two-piece scenario.
Oh shit!
The Super Nintendo, and I think the front of it's plastic, and it's like really cool molded, like indented. You should look it up. It's really.
I will look that up. I didn't know
like
they had a cool box.
It's like $120, $150 for that.
Because the game isn't as good on the Super Nintendo. Like it was just a port. The Genesis version is really good.
Is it just slower or something like that?
It's just different and not as fun. I'm looking this box up. I really want to see this. I don't see. Oh, hell yeah. That's dope as hell.
Exactly.
God.
So I want that. It's telling me not to get it. I was like, listen, Brian. You gotta see this box.
Y'all need to shut up and let me buy my RoboCop versus Terminator.
So at some point, hopefully I can either find a good deal for it or find one that's in really good shape for a fair price.
Is it expensive?
Yeah, it's like 120, 150-ish bucks, I think.
That's one thing. I've been staring at God damn it, Blasphemous. This is a relatively new game for the Nintendo Switch, and it was one of those limited run games that came out, briefly, and unfortunately, I didn't hear about it unlimited run until much after it came out. And I want a physical copy of that game, but it like jumped up in price immediately to about $120. And like it was available at Best Buy too, but like I can't justify that much money for a video game.
We're talking. I mean, stuff that is more recent, anyways. It's tough to justify.
Yeah,
I think.
But that limited run stuff goes up quick. Like as soon as it gets released, it's on eBay for like double what it costs originally.
Right.
Seems like really an easy money making scheme, to be honest with you. It's just buy everything they make and then put it up on eBay as soon as it.
As somebody who's done that in the past, I don't disagree with you. I don't buy I never have bought like 100 copies of anything, but maybe I'd buy like 3-4 copies, keep one, sell the rest in order to like pay for the one that I bought. That's generally something that I would do. Still sitting on my analog NES that I'm waiting for it to just kind of not be flooded the market right now. It's just people are trying to sell those for what they paid for them.
Yeah, those things they're cheaper than the analog Super Nintendo, the Super NT. The Super NT goes for like $500 easy on eBay. And that thing was $189 new.
Yeah.
I wonder if Analog, the company, will ever make something similar to a Retron 5, where it's just got like 4 or let's say 3 cartridge slots on it. One for the Genesis, one for the Super Nintendo, one for the NES. But it's got the FPGA, so whenever you plug a cartridge into it, it just reprograms itself to be that console.
I mean, I don't think it's a bad idea. It just seems really complicated on the development part, and it might be kind of expensive.
Yeah, you might be right.
Tell us about the fact that you bought a Polymega.
I didn't buy a Polymega.
Oh, I thought I saw on Twitter you said that you ordered one.
I was thinking about it hard.
Somebody, I think it was Aries, said that you bought one, or somebody said that you bought one.
Now I'm wondering if I bought one. Did I buy one?
I saw some. That's why I was like, let's talk about it, because I swear I saw somewhere or somebody told me that you bought one.
I hope
How do you not know?
Look, I make
How
bad
much beer
decisions.
do you drink, Briar?
You know what I did buy that I thought was really stupid is it's a Game Boy Advance cartridge reader that hooks up to your PC.
Because I saw that people were, I was kind of watching that thread of it. Looked like a cool thing to pull ROMs off of and stuff. But it's basically software emulation, right?
That's all it is. All it can do is read the cartridge and make a ROM, basically. You can also, I think, manipulate your game saves on a cartridge as well. But I don't know, it was only $50. So I was like, maybe I'll fuck around with that.
I mean, if you don't like it, you could probably sell it for about what you paid for it, I imagine, at some point.
Yeah, it'll probably just
I have that retro thing that I haven't really used much either that I have been thinking about selling, because you guys sell it for what I paid for it, but it's just interesting to have that stuff.
Yeah.
Are you looking at like your purchases at this point to see if you bought it?
I am. I don't think I bought it.
There hasn't been any updated news since. I mean, there was big news 2 weeks ago, but it just seems like people are like, I've been seeing on Twitter, like, I want to cancel my order. And Polymega is at least responding and be like, wait, hey, hit us up.
Who could have possibly ordered that? Who hasn't been able to? Because all the Walmart pre-orders got canceled. So the only way you could have pre-ordered that at this point is in the last 2 weeks.
I don't know. I think people are just getting sour taste in their mouth with the whole situation. So, yeah.
I mean, I don't know what to tell you. If you put in an order for that thing in the last 2 weeks and you're just now thinking, geez, maybe this is a little shady, I don't know what to tell you. You're a fucking fool. You have not gone into this eyes wide open. There was a complete lack of research on your part. I was thinking about buying one. I don't think I did though. I'm looking through my purchase history. I don't think I did. I was thinking about buying one, but the fucking thing's $400. It's really $450
for the base model.
Yeah, and all it is a really low power PC to play ROMs on. That's all it is. Like the Atari VCS is the same thing, except it doesn't have a disk drive.
Right. I was like, I don't really understand how people can get so excited over that. But
if it was $200, I think it'd be a great deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Whatever.
Wishing them the best.
Did you hear though that the Mr. development team is now working? They've been working on a PlayStation, but now they're working on Saturn as well.
Really?
Yeah. So Saturn and PlayStation could be coming to Mr.
Do they just drop it as a software thing, or
when it gets released? Yeah, just like there's like a button basically that you hit that says update all, and it just runs all the updates for it, and it'll just come get downloaded. You got to bring your own ROMs for it, but that's easy to find.
you can have a Mister that you bought like a few years ago that can just get updated to play that stuff.
Oh yeah, since I bought my Mister, a ton of stuff has been added to it. The Sega CD got added to it. The Capcom CPS-1 arcade boards got added to it. CPS-2 is being released as we speak, which is all like the CPS-1 is like Street Fighter 2. CPS-2 is like Street Fighter 3 in that era. There's a ton of stuff. TurboGrafx CD. What else has been added since when I bought it? Neo Geo was like new to it. The whole Neo Geo library. I mean, I had never messed with Neo Geo before that, and it is, it's probably the thing I play the most on it.
It's a lot of arcade games and whatnot. It's pretty cool.
A lot of fighting games, but like some really cool stuff. Like, what's that Frisbee game? Windjammers is really a fun game.
There was some news on that re-release actually, and I just didn't find it relevant because I'm like, I don't know what this is.
On Windjammers?
Like if look up Windjammers real quick, and there's a new one coming out.
Yeah, they're like actually making a new one because they re-released it on the Switch.
There was news on it. I don't remember what it was. There's a Twitter.
Windjammers 2 by .emu.
There was a demo on Steam that's apparently not available anymore.
No, but they got a trailer.
Well, yeah, and apparently there was a demo on Steam that was available for like a few days.
Oh, really? That's too bad. I would have loved to play that.
It ended yesterday.
Fuck! Can I pre-order this? Is this going to come out on anything else besides Steam? Because what I really want this on is the Switch.
Switch, yeah. I don't know.
It just says coming soon. I'll buy this, though.
I honestly didn't know anything about it. I watched a little bit of the video, and it was like really arcadey looking Frisbee tennis almost. It was really
like
interesting.
Dodgeball, kind of like air hockey. It's a fun game though. The old version is a really fun game on the Neo Geo. There's other games too. Like there's a couple of shooters that are really fun. Mostly fighting games though. I'd guess that like 70% of the entire library for the Neo Geo is fighting games. But there's Magician Lord and other games like platformers and beat 'em ups, and then the Metal Slug series, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
If you've never played a Metal Slug game, those are all available on the Switch. Download one of those for like whatever it costs, $5, and you'll be like, "This came out in the '90s."
Yeah. Like if you like stuff like Contra and like Gunstar Heroes and stuff like that, it's really, really cool. Really simple gameplay to learn. Really difficult to master though, for sure.
And unbelievable graphics.
Yeah,
like, you've never seen 2D art like this in a video game.
The vehicles and the like aeronautic kind of flying machine spaceship type stuff. Or wait, am I thinking of the same game?
I don't think so.
There like ship bosses and stuff in that game?
There's like helicopters, but mostly it's like a Contra game, and like you fight tanks and like yeah. It's a really beautiful game. You know what I played actually for the first time this week? I was making a video about the Dreamcast, like updating the Dreamcast, And one of the things I did was I put a mode into it that is like a optical disc emulator. And one of the new things for the Dreamcast is that they ported all of the Atomic Wave games, which is an arcade system based on the Dreamcast, over to the Dreamcast. Like somebody on the internet has done this. So I was checking out this game called Dolphin Blue, which is like a Contra game, like a Metal Slug game, but you ride a dolphin, and it's pretty fucking fun.
Do you like go underwater and stuff, or do you stay above?
There's two kinds of levels. There's like above the water, where you just ride on the dolphin and you stay above the water. It basically feels like you're playing like a side-scrolling shooter, right? Like Contra. Except when you just jump off of the dolphin and then you land back on the dolphin, right? But then sometimes you go under the water and you're basically playing like a side-scrolling shooter. You know, where you're like a space shooter,
grasping onto the dolphin for dear life.
No, you're like swimming independently of the dolphin and shooting. It's graphically pretty good and it's really fun to play. I was really amazed with it. A bunch of King of the Fighters games, Metal Slug 6 I think is on there. A bunch of these arcade games, completely playable on an original Dreamcast hardware.
Nice.
Yeah, because apparently this Atomic Wave arcade hardware was Dreamcast hardware. Pretty neat.
There's a whole world of stuff that I haven't, like, I know a little bit about it.
Yeah.
The arcade stuff, but it's like a whole world, and there's so many enthusiasts and whatnot in the arcade world, and at some point when I have enough space, I'd like to get an arcade cabinet or two, like a legitimate one, and then maybe one that can run everything.
Yeah, I would get one that I could put a Mister into. Because I feel like that's like the closest you can get to actually having arcade hardware, like the actual PCBs, without having the actual PCBs and have like multiple games on there.
Is that kind of how? Because there's those arcade cabinet companies that like put like 1,000 games or whatever on a arcade cabinet. Is that kind of what they do? They emulate like that?
Yeah, those are more like a like PC emulation, though, software emulation, as opposed to the Mister, which is more like the hardware emulation.
Interesting. I don't know if I'm tinkery enough to be able to make that work, but
I don't think it's that hard. Like you can get I can't remember the name of the company, Legends Arcade or something like that. And you got to spend a fair amount to get the actual cabinet, and it has an LCD panel, not like a CRT tube. And then you can just plug any HDMI device into it, and it'll play off of that.
Nice.
Should we wrap this one up?
Yeah, sounds good.
This is a good show, man. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube at JSniperton. I am typically up late playing Destiny and streaming on Twitch pretty much 5 nights a week. So if you're up super late in the US and want to hang out, you're more than welcome to. I probably will be in the next few months checking out more kind of other games, because there's not a new raid in Destiny and stuff. So I might take some time to, Outriders is coming out, and I might spend some more time doing retro stuff and things like that. But just having fun. How about you, Briar?
You can find me messing around with a bunch of retro stuff. I play a lot of retro stuff and new stuff. I just put out a video, like I said, about modding a Dreamcast. That's on my YouTube channel, the Briar Rabbit channel, where I did 3 pretty cool mods to a Dreamcast with just a screwdriver, no soldering, no nothing. You get really nice video out of it. You're able to play any video game or any Dreamcast game at all. And I added a knock to a fan to it, so it runs cooler and much quieter. If you've ever had a Dreamcast, you know those things are really loud. So that was a fun video. Soon I'll be putting out a video about looking for the best Nintendo Switch controller I can find, because I've been unable to find a good one that I really like. So I've got about 6 of them over the past week.
Oh my
that
gosh.
I've been testing. So I'll be comparing those in a new video coming up later this week.
Nice.
And I think that's going to do it for this one, guys. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. What game are we playing? Don't forget to play
GoldenEye.
Damn. Hell yeah, that's going to be super fun.
Yeah. Lots of polygons. Here we go.
Yeah. No 4 of them.
No odd job. Don't play as odd job. You're not allowed to play as odd job. Anybody but odd job. All right.
See you next week. Bye.